friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here for another garden update. Today is July 26th, so you'll be seeing this probably maybe more like the 29th or the 30th when I publish it, but I just like to keep you updated so you know exactly where we are. And I'm going to be focusing on a certain spot out in the backyard garden area, but I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple other updates. And I got to hurry up and get this done because I got to get my laundry hung out and before it starts getting too noisy. We've had so few sunny days, and on days like this people start getting in their private planes and flying all over the place, and it gets really noisy. And I know my neighbor's got some work to do on his hedges on his side and with the chainsaw, so it's going to get real noisy. So let's get to it. Okay, so I'll start here at the little deck corner here that you've been seeing, and I've been getting beans. Of course, these ones are really tiny, but I've been getting full-size beans off of here and picking them. There's one there that's it's not huge, but it is ready to be picked. These beans can get quite large, and for a green bean I try to pick them a lot while they're pretty young, because they can get up to about a foot long, but then at that point you want to save them for a dry bean. So anyway, they've been working their way across there. I don't think it's going to get much farther than that. It usually doesn't, especially since these are growing out of a pot. But I do get a few dinners worth of beans out of the ones that grow up here. And so they're doing, considering how late everything has been because our very cold spring and early summer, they're doing relatively good. I think probably because they're right up next to the shop here. I've got 2 pots of chicken bone broth cooking in the solar oven. Yesterday I had 1 pot, and then the other pot had another whole chicken in it. So right here I've got quite a bit of the chicken from the one I baked yesterday in the solar oven. And here's a picture right here of a jar of the one from the day before that I'd baked and then dehydrated a bunch of it up, what we didn't eat for dinner. Grapes have been filling out, been having to cut them back quite a bit just to make it so it doesn't shade out too many things here, and so we can actually walk down the steps here. And by the way, those boards are there to keep the chickens off the deck. They've actually been working even though they can hop up over it. They've only got up here a couple times since we put those up, and Cody can jump over it or go through that little hole right there, no problem. I'm not going to be talking a lot about the main garden section today. It's very, very different this year, and if you've been keeping up on my garden updates, you'll know why. I'll talk about more what I've decided to do with this area so it's not a complete waste. And you can see there's stuff growing, and it is useful. Okay, here's some of my other beans that have been doing really good, and I've been getting beans off of them, growing up the side of the greenhouse from a pot. So some are going this way across the string lights, and some are going that way. And of course I do have to kind of wrap them around there by hand to keep them going that way. Otherwise they'll go up and over, and I'm trying to just let them grow along there. One of the reasons I've always done this way was just another extra place to grow beans, but also because it adds some beauty to this little corner right here. But I'm really glad this year because the beans that I've grown up next to the buildings they've been the healthiest. My lettuce is over here. I'm going to let some of those go to seed and save the seeds off of them this year. So as far as just regular lettuces go, I haven't ever bothered saving the seeds because I always tend to have tons. Okay, so the main thing I want to talk about is right here. And you see my main clothesline goes all the way across here, and that's why I wanted to shoot this before I hang up my laundry so it's not in the way. But I wanted to show you this section. Now it's mainly my squash and pea patch. So it started out as solely for potatoes years ago, and I'll put a picture right here of when I was just growing potatoes. Then they do pretty good here. In fact, you'll see potato plants in here. These are all ones that have just keep coming back. I dig up potatoes, but there's always some left behind, so they're just volunteers. So the 2 main things this area is for is the squash along this side. And yes, there's squash in there. The ones I'm growing here, neither one of them are doing as good this year as the New England sugar pie pumpkin. In fact, this one here is the biggest one I've had. I had more pumpkin on here that looked like it was going to be good but didn't have male flowers opened, so they didn't get pollinated, unfortunately. So hopefully I'll get at least a few pumpkins out of it. This one here I know got pollinated, and this one too, because I pollinated them by hand. But there's another one that I don't think I pollinated. That one looks like it's new. So just to make sure, we do have plenty of bees around here, but just to make sure, I've been doing it by hand, just taking a natural bristle paintbrush, and then there's like a male flower there, and so I collect the pollen from the male flower and then stick it down inside the female flower, and that's how I pollinate by hand. But anyway, you can also see I've got lots of nasturtium growing there. I've been collecting lots of nasturtium flowers. Some of it's climbing up this way along with the beans right here. I got some more beans and the squash, and so I've been saving as many of the flowers and leaves as I can. Of course, I'll let a bunch go to seed so I can plant them again next year, because I have a lot of uses for nasturtium, and I have a video about that. The peas, from now on, this is going to be my pea place. I'm loving this for peas, this whole side here, because peas don't mind getting a little bit of shade and having some coolness. I've been picking a lot of peas. When it comes to snow peas, probably any peas really, you got to pick them every single day. You have to keep up on them. You don't want any of them to get too mature too soon, because one thing about peas is once it has a couple of really mature pods on there that are ready to go to seed, the plants they'll just say, okay, we're done. We've done our job. And if I find some that I missed where the peas have gotten just too mature, but they're not mature enough to save for seed, I just open them up and feed them to the chickens. One thing about snow peas is when the peas get mature, they're not like your standard shelling pea. They're just not very good fresh. They have too much of a dry beany flavor. So I just feed them to the chickens, and they love it. So when I'm out here picking my peas, they go crazy. They all hang around waiting for me to give them some peas. So anyway, what I've been doing is trying to bring them down, the plants, and work them through here because they get so tall. One thing that we can definitely grow well here in rain country are peas. And technically they're only supposed to get 4 feet tall, but snow peas, as long as you give them something to climb on, they'll just keep going and going and going. And so I won't be surprised if they might finish out before they get that far, but if they don't start trying to come down the other side. Well, they wouldn't come down the other side. I'd have to string them through there, but if I don't do that, I can't reach the peas that grow up there. So even though it's just out here picking peas, yesterday afternoon I see a whole bunch that are ready. They grow fast at this point. And then yeah, the potatoes, I just let them do what they want. I try not to let too many weeds take over, but what I do is just pull them up and throw them down because they help add a layer to like you can see I've been doing here, to the top of the soil that keeps it from drying out, keeps it real moist. And you can see the lamb's quarter in there. Mostly I've been feeding it to the chicken, adding it to salads, because I have several years worth of dried mixed greens that I'm not doing any this year, which is good because I need my dehydrators for the many other things I'm working on this year. All right, well, that's my garden update for this week. More to come. I'll be breaking down some more of those areas. Like maybe next week I'll do the main garden area, or I might wait another week. I'll either do that or I'll talk about what's going on in the greenhouse, but I'll also try to keep you updated on some of the other things that are going on in the other garden areas that I've already covered. Oh yeah, I still got to do the West Herb Garden. So maybe I'll do that one next week. We'll see. It'll just depend when we get there. But I've got some lilies that have been blooming out front. The carrots are still growing, but they're going slowly. The beets are looking really nice so far, especially those mango beets, looking really good. I'll put a picture right here so you can see what they look like. So those are just a few updates of what's happening out front. So even though this has been a rather rough year garden-wise for us because of just the really strange weather we've had, we do still have many things that are doing really good for us, you know, like the grapes and the snow peas and several other things. So it's still a good year, but it's really got me thinking differently about certain things, and I'll be covering that more when I talk about the main garden area and what I've been doing with it this year. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.